I am Jim Guthrie, and I actually right now serve in the Senate District 28, which is all of Power County, all of Franklin County, and part of Bannock County. And so about 53,000 people in a district, so it's been my pleasure to represent that district since the redistricting a couple years ago. Of course, along the way, as they say, you have to have a job to support your farm a little bit, so I did that for a number of years, worked in heavy industry and also through the construction trades, that type of thing. And so it was a good mix to be able to work a job and yet enjoy the farm, and finally got that to where I kind of did that pretty much full time. But then I got into politics, and you kind of wonder sometimes why you do that, but served on the local school board, also a member of the Bannock County Commission for 6 years, and served in the House of Representatives for 2 years. Now I've been in the Senate for going on 12. So I'm either a slow learner, or I determined that maybe sometimes you can be involved and make a difference in that. I think that's what we all hope, is that through our involvement, whether it be in politics or community or whatever it might be, that we can somehow make a little bit of a difference. You know, in a broader concept, look at everywhere you go, help wanted, people are needing help. But in ag labor, it's hard work, it's dirty work, it's long hours, and it's really difficult to find people that want to work in that environment. And you've seen a lot of technology that's changed the way we farm and everything, but you still need that labor force. And so I got involved because, let's face it, the immigration policy is a federal issue. We can't solve that through the state, but what we can do is try to make the best of it so that it fits Idaho's needs. And it's a tough one, because you start bringing up immigration, undocumented workers, and those things in a conversation, you've got resistance. And so I've faced some of that, but trying again to encourage through a resolution like last year, to try to encourage the federal government to step up and do their job in immigration reform, so that we can figure this labor thing out as it pertains to not just agriculture, but construction, the service industry, and all kinds of things, because it's let's face it, we need the labor for agriculture and all these other things. And in fact, if we didn't have the undocumented labor in the equation, about 40% of what it takes to put food on your table comes through undocumented workforce, and that's just a reality. And so when you try to deal with that, you try to figure out how can we make the best of the situation we're in. I guess what I would hope is that the smaller farmer sustains, because what I worry about is the major corporations and buying up all the land. I really fear that, because if we lose the family farm, I think there's a danger that we lose our identity, particularly what we have here in Idaho as an ag state. So I hope in some ways that farms can pass on to next generations, and that we can sustain those 100-acre farms, those 500-acre farms, and those smaller operations.
Hi, I'm Jason Monks. I'm a small business owner. I'm a father of 8 children, grandfather of 11 children. I remember at one time being asked to do something for the Farm Bureau, and I remember saying that I was a wannabe farmer because I admire so much that they do in the industry, and thought how important it was. And we're on our way to becoming that with every year we get a little bit closer to being a farmer. So House Bill 292, I think the biggest thing that it accomplished is it lowered property taxes for everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean all property tax payers. And that was one of the really important goals we had at the very beginning, that we weren't going to shift property tax burdens from one group to another group.
Another thing I think that's important to note in this particular bill is that we are not shifting the tax burden to anybody else. We're just providing tax relief.
That was the simple way of taking care of it, and frankly a lot of people kind of wanted us to do that by adjusting homeowners exemptions and just shifting it to somebody else. And we didn't want to do that, and House Bill 292 was able to accomplish that by addressing 2 aspects, and the one that I'm the most proud of is the school funding for facilities. So bonds that go out there that have to be voted on and approved almost all the time, and then you pay on that, and everybody pays on that. If you look across the state, about 30% of all property taxes are for school bonds and levies. And so we wanted to tackle that particular problem, and House Bill 292 was able to put a lot of money towards helping to build schools. And so not only did it lower property tax, but it also helps provide a more level playing field for districts across the state.
How does this translate to property tax relief? Subsection 4 there in line 39 talks about this money that they use to pay those bonds and levies, they can't collect the same amount twice. So if they're paying the bond payment with this money, they can't then collect that from the property taxpayer, nor can they do that on the levies as well. So it will translate into real property tax relief, which is the goal of this bill.
I think when we look at agricultural, sometimes we look at this massive growth that's been going on in the Treasure Valley, and agriculture has not necessarily been a part of that. And in fact, a lot of the land has gone away. We've got houses there. And that may not be as big a deal in a individual setting, but if you look at across the state that happening, it's a big deal, and we're losing part of our prime agricultural land, and that's unfortunate. As a legislature, we have to be defenders of agriculture, because if we don't, nobody else will. They'll just build houses and we'll be left with nothing but a bedroom community to Boise. And that's not good for anybody. We all have to eat. We all have to, without the ag, I mean, there is no food. No farms, no food. It's a bumper sticker, but it's so true. And as Idaho grows, we're going to have less and less representation in the rural communities, because we're going to have more and more representatives representing cities as we continue to grow. And so it's critical that we put in the protections now to make sure that we don't lose our agricultural base when we have more representatives and senators from urban areas than we do from rural areas. So it's important that we take care of that right now and make sure those protections are in place for the future. Oh, absolutely. Whenever I can get Farm Bureau to support a bill, it just means that I know that I've picked up a lot of support, and that's a big deal. It's kind of one of those hurdles. If I've got that one already there, it makes my life a lot easier. If I had to fight Farm Bureau on this one, I probably wasn't doing the right thing to begin with. So I'll take that support anytime.